Hello, this is Peter Fitzmaurice, and I'm going to be talking about the game me and Daniel developed for multiplayer CA1. So as you can see here, our game is called Super Trash Bros, and it's a game to smash them all. So our game is a multiplayer 2D game where basically you have to knock each other off the platform and into the spikes. If you know the game Super Smash Bros, then you'll have an understanding of what our game will be. So this is our main menu. Once we actually get in, you have then the menu underneath, which is our menu, and we have exit, we have controls, and then options and play. You also would have instantly heard the background music for the menu to start play. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm actually going to turn it off. Okay, so I just went into options there, and within options we have mute music, mute sound, VSync, and back. Okay, so VSync, if you turn it off, will actually change the FPS of the game. So this is to be used on like lower performing devices. Now this game can run this game quite well, but however, if you wanna, as you can see, it already shot it up a lot. So this game will play a lot smoother now if I played with this. However, this PC doesn't need it, so I'm going to keep it on because it actually looks more visually appealing when you have VSync on. So yeah, mute sounds. You can hear the sounds when I click a button, as you can see there. So, okay, I can actually mute them. I'm going to leave them on for the purpose of this. Okay, then we have controls. So in the controls we can set the controls for player 1 and for player 2. Player 1 you can set on the left, and player 2 you can set on the right. Okay, so here's the game. So once you're in the game, this is what you'll see. So there's 2 players, and you'll see actually pickups fall. So pickups will fall randomly at random intervals, and depending on the pickup, depends on the ability. So we have different pickups. So we have a health pickup, which increases your HP, which you can see here on the bar. We have a fire rate pickup, which will make you shoot faster. We also have a spread pickup with this person picked up. So as you can see here, I can shoot both right and left. And yeah, but with a normal player, they can only shoot one way. So we have that. We then have missiles, a pickup, which you saw this person collect. That's why they have 3 missiles. Then there's also fire spread pickup, which you would have seen there with the thing. Health pickup obviously increases your health. Okay, so now I'm going to actually demo some of the gameplay. So we've got the 2 characters. So if you crash into each other, whoever's going fastest wins the fight. So as you saw, player 1 won that fight, and the other person got a knockback modifier added to them. So that means if they get hit again, they'll get knocked back an extra 5 further. As you saw there, it's now 10. Now, the further you knock them back, the more their knock goes up, the further they'll be knocked back, so the easier it is to knock them off. So, as you saw, it's just a simple 5 increment when it's a dash. So, it's also another 5 for each shot that hits. So as you saw, I hit her, the character, and it basically knocked her off. Also, the knockback gets reset on death, but you notice they've lost the HP and a life hit point. So missiles, we've got missiles now. I'm going to demo them. Not with that person. So as you saw, the missiles hit into him, but it adds 20. So we wanted to make it a bit more extreme. And you also see that they lock on as well. So as you saw, the person got shot off and they lost a life. So missiles are 20. So that's the majority point of our game. You can also see the collisions on the jump, and we have our jump mechanic in the game. And then I kill them. So to win this game, you actually have to kill the other person 3 times. Well, until they've lost health. So I lost there, so player 1 actually won. Okay. That's the basics of our game. You've also noticed that whoever's going faster on the collisions gets the knockback. Okay, so now I'm actually going to show you some of the code. Okay. So, I'm going to start with world.cpp. So, in world.cpp, we have the majority of our code, okay? This is the most important CPP file. So, we've got our update. This is where all the updates in the game happen, from the collisions to the spawn pickups, and even the guided missiles, and updating the sounds. So, yeah, as you can see them here, guided missiles, handle collisions, and these call all methods that then choose. But also, you can actually see with the spawn pickups here, it's a random interval, and then it actually chooses also a random position on the map to spawn between 600 and 800. And then it obviously always spawns at 10 at the top of the screen on the y-axis. Okay. Yeah, we have the draw here as well for the game. We obviously have a lot of getters and setters in these CPP files, so you'll notice that throughout them. Yeah, so here we have add aircraft. We make sure that they're in the upper area so they're not loaded behind the thing. Loaded behind the background image. Make sure they're on top of it. Yeah, we have a pickup function. So that the velocity of the pickup, because it's obviously falling, we set to gravity, which we created. Okay. Yeah, we have has alive players and is last one standing. Okay. So then we've got load textures. So load textures loads all our textures in from the game. We've then got that player velocity. So we've actually got it that if they move diagonally, they'll still move the same speed as if they would move right or left. And that's the code that makes sure that this happens. Okay, so handle collisions. So this is just aircraft, if they like hit with any of the boundary boxes, they lose a health. As you saw with the hit points, you would have seen under the text that they lost the health every time they died. Okay, and then it also moves the player back. As long as they're not dead, it moves the player back to the spawn position of 500, which is in the middle, roughly on the middle-most platform at the top. However, if they're not, it won't, and it will actually create you'll see the explosion then where they actually die. Okay, then we have collisions players bounce back. So this checks if player 1's velocity is greater, and if it is, then player 2 gets a knockback modifier added, as you can see here, increment knockback for player 2. Same for player 1. Else if they're equal, they both just get knocked back, but they don't get any increments. It's the same on the Y case, however we made the Y less severe, the knockback. The knockback is not as strong as it would be on the X. And you'll also notice that there's no actual increments on knockbacks on the Y. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically that. These are also, projectile knockbacks. So this is for the missile knockback. So as you can see, we set the velocity, how far they're going to get knocked back, and do we divide by 2. Then we have apply increment knockback, which is 20. So that's actually quite high. The rest are normally there are 5. So we want the missiles because there's only like 2 of them until you get pickups at the start. We want them to be quite powerful and useful. So they have that. Then we have the normal projectiles, which is knockback 5, as you can see here. Now we have handle collision platforms. So this is kind of, we have a code here to stop the player from falling to the ground. We also need to make sure that they're grounded. So make sure that once they're grounded, the jump and all that is reset. Okay. Update sounds. This just updates. Say when one of the aircraft shoots, or one of the players shoots or fires a missile, a sound will play in correspondence. Yeah, we've got the build scene, so this is adding the background sprite, finish line, particle nodes, propellants for the missiles, and the sound effects and platforms. As you can see here, it draws them in. Here we've got add platforms, so this is actually the locations of the platforms on the X and Y position, and we say whether they're large or small platforms for the texture. As you can see here. Okay. Destroy entities, so anything outside of the game screen just will be gone, destroyed. We've got guide missiles, so this is actually the guiding the missiles, and we make sure that it goes towards the nearest player. Okay, now I'm going to talk about aircraft.cpp. So in aircraft.cpp, we've got the displays of the text for all the different fonts and their positions. So players display, which you would have seen on the top of the players, player 1 and player 2. It's set -50 above the actual player's position boundary box thing. Okay. We then have health display and missile display. Okay. Yeah, we obviously have a lot of getting sets, as I said again. I'm not going to go into detail with these. Okay, so update current. This updates the text and the roll animation. So like when the character moves from left to right, you'll see that the sprite changes with this thing. Check hiccups and then play sounds. Okay. Then we've got more guessing sets. Players removed. Yeah, so here we got actually increased spread. So like the spread of the bullets, like as you notice when the player moves left to right after they pick up fire rate, they're able to shoot left and up at the same time. However, normally you'd only be able to shoot one direction at once. So we've actually set this to 3 max. And also the fire rate's only to 10, which is quite high as well. Yep, play local sound, gets and setters. Update movement patterns, so. Okay, so then we have check projectile launch. So this is kind of to make sure that the player doesn't constantly hold the fire button. We've got like an interval for how fast they can shoot. Yep, creating the projectiles. So shoot bullets in the previous direction. So our bullets shoot in the previous direction because we want it to have it that basically when you retreat it back. So when you're running backwards, you can also shoot. So we made it that it shoots in your previous direction that you moved. And that's how we basically did that. We also rotate the projectile so it looks the same from each angle. Different from each angle, sorry. And rotate it looks clean. Okay, then we have the update text. This is for updating the text of the players, as you saw with the HP player, knock, and missile. And then we have the update roll animations. Okay, projectile.cpp, very small file. It's basically just, we've got the add particle systems for the missiles, so the propellant and the smoke, as you see here. And it kind of sets the bounding rate. The position, sorry, of the thing as the get bounding rate height divided by 2, and then obviously at 0. And then we've got the same here, and propellant. And then we just have more gets and sets. Oh, and also how quickly the projectile approaches. If it's a missile, we can see here the approach rate of the missile. Okay. Pickup.cpp. Pickup.cpp is just getters and setters for pickups. So, the bending rate, the draw current. Okay. Platform.cpp, very similar. It's just the get category of the platform, the get the bounding rate of the platform. Okay, so now we've got player CPP. So there's actually more in this. So in player.cpp, we have the triggers for like aircraft jump, fire, missile fire, and all that. And then, as you can see, we again set if it's grounded because they can't jump in air in our game. We have to make sure that they. So that's how we did the gravity. So if they fell, they would stay. You know, they'd fall. They wouldn't be able to jump in midair. That took us a surprisingly long amount of time to get perfect. The jump. The jump was probably the hardest piece of the code, surprisingly. Yep. Then we've got players and their missile triggers, and then we've got the key bindings. So this is actually if you want to change the key bindings. Yeah, you'll notice some networking code we left in, and then this is obviously. We're going to be making this into a multiplayer game, so we actually left this piece of code in. Okay, now I'm going to actually talk about menu states. So, menu state, we've actually got quite a few changes in here. So, I'll talk about that. So in the menu state we have all the buttons, as you can see, and their positions. So, We have the play button here, as you can see, the X and Y position, and then the callback and what state it puts the game. So it obviously puts it into the game. This is our host option. We left this in because we'll add this later in our gameplay. And the join option, which again will be added later when we actually make this a networking game. Okay, then we have our options button, called state options. We then have our controls, which is called state settings. And then we have our exit, which just basically exits the game. We usually have a container for each of these. Again, we have a host and join because we're gonna obviously, this is gonna be an online multiplayer game as well later on. Okay. Oh, this is the menu, team, song, content of music, play music, menu, team. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to show you option state. So, in option state, this is actually for the muting of the sound. We have VSync as well here. So, we need to get volume. Is mute on, true, or is music on, true or false? This is the if statement for turning it on and off. We then have here the back button, again positioned. We have the VSync button, and obviously we have a set VSync command. The labels are the actual on and off text. You'll see labels everywhere. That's to set the on and off, as you can see here. So this one's actually corresponding to VSync, and we've got the position in correspondence again with nearly that. As you can see, it's 315, so it's slightly further down, but it's slightly further to the right on the X. Yeah, we call a command obviously. We have then mute music here, mute sounds, and then we've got all the buttons and containers, so this is where they should be made. We've got the draw of them. Update. Here's our actual update labels according, so we update them to on and off, depending on is it true or false. So if VSync is true, it's on. If it's not, it's off. Same with music and sound. This is the set sync, and you can see get context, and then it's actually setting the is VSync on. Same with music, it sets the volume to 0. With mute, it's true, and it sets this to 100 if it's if it is on. If it isn't muted, it's 100. And that's the same with the sounds. We've then got application.cpp, and obviously we load in some of the fonts and the title screen and the buttons in here as well. Text-wise, we also set the music volume to 100 on the menu. This is the clock and the actual FPS counter. Clock. Yeah, and then we basically have the inputs, update statistics. So this is the actual FPS counter here, as you can see. So that's just how many frames, and then we've registered all the states. Obviously, there's a lot more files in this. I'm going to go through just quickly one HPP. You would have, so this is the aircraft HPP. So in here we just have our public and private methods that can be called throughout the code, and that's pretty much what the HPP file is for. And it also, it's helpful because you can just include it and it will include all the others in the actual CPP files. Yeah, so like we've got increased fire rate, which is a public method, but like a private method might be the update roll animation and all that. And the emps, so these are all local. Yeah, so that's the aircraft.hpp. Thanks for listening and happy Christmas.